She left the bar just before 2 a.m. Her hair was neatly tied back, a small clutch held close to her side, and she walked slowly toward a car waiting across the street, believing it was the Uber she'd just ordered. There was only one problem. It wasn't her Uber. Samantha Josephson never made it home, and over the next 24 hours, everything remained eerily quiet. No one heard a scream. No one called 911. No one even knew to look for her, until it was far too late. A bright college student, just weeks away from graduation, with dreams of becoming a human rights attorney, vanished without a trace, just steps away from safety after walking toward the wrong car. And when she was finally found, it wasn't an accident. It wasn't a case of getting lost. It was something far more brutal. How could someone like Samantha, vibrant, brilliant, full of promise, disappear in the middle of a city lit by neon and surveillance? And how, in a world flooded with cameras and technology, did no one stop it from happening? Samantha Josephson was born and raised in New Jersey, in a family where every photo on the wall told a story of love. Love for learning, love for justice, and love for simple kindness. She was the youngest in the family, with a contagious smile and eyes that always seemed to ask, "How can I help?" Friends called her small but mighty. Teachers said she was determined. And her parents? They'd tell you she always knew exactly where she was going. Samantha wasn't just smart. She had purpose. She studied international relations at the University of South Carolina, dreaming of one day becoming a human rights lawyer, someone who could speak up for those no one else would listen to. She preferred iced tea over coffee, always kept a little notebook tucked in her purse, and was never late for anything. To her friends, she was the one you called when life got hard, because she'd show up, even if it was the middle of the night. Just a week before she vanished, Samantha had gotten incredible news. She'd been accepted into a prestigious law program at Drexel. She called her mom in tears, laughing through the sobs. "Mom, I did it." That night, Samantha went out with friends in 5 Points, a lively, familiar bar district popular with USC students. Nothing unusual, just a fun night. Music, cocktails, the kind of half-serious conversations that fill the corners of youth. Around 2 a.m., she texted her roommate, "Calling an Uber now, be home soon." That was the last message she ever sent. No one saw her again after that moment. No one heard a scream. No one paid much attention to the black Chevrolet Impala parked nearby, with a man waiting inside who wasn't her Uber driver. And then, the empty chair in class the next morning felt heavier than anyone could have imagined. The car crept up to the curb, gleaming under the yellow glow of a street lamp. A black Chevrolet Impala. Old, unmarked, no Uber logo. But at 2 a.m., after a few cocktails and a long night out, it looked enough like the ride Samantha had ordered. She walked over, opened the back door, and didn't realize that door could only be opened from the outside. Inside, the car was dimly lit. The man in the driver's seat said nothing. He didn't ask for her name. He didn't confirm a destination, something any real Uber driver would have done. But Samantha didn't notice. She just wanted to go home. The car quietly pulled away from the 5 Points district. No camera caught it turning. No friends saw her pulled inside or heard her scream. Everything was silent. A few hours later, as morning light crept over Columbia, South Carolina, Samantha's roommate woke up and felt something was wrong. She still wasn't home. The 2 a.m. text, "Calling an Uber now," had never been answered. Her phone rang, but there was no response. Every call went straight to voicemail. By early afternoon, unease turned to fear. Her family was contacted. Friends started messaging in panic. But no one had seen her. No one knew anything. Samantha's mother, Marcy, later said she felt something was terribly wrong deep in my heart. She called her daughter again and again, hoping to hear that familiar voice. But only the cold, robotic tone of voicemail replied. Police were notified that evening. But like many missing person cases, the initial response was cautious. She probably stayed over at a friend's. Maybe her phone died. It could just be a misunderstanding. But Samantha didn't just disappear. She never did things like this. She never left without telling someone. The next morning, as police began retracing her steps through the bar district, they found surveillance footage from a nearby storefront. And then, a chilling moment flickered across the screen. Samantha stepping into a black car, one that wasn't registered to any Uber. That moment, Samantha opening the door of a black Chevrolet Impala and vanishing into the night, marked the beginning of a nearly 3-day search, and the end of any peace her mother had ever known. Detectives reviewed every frame of the footage. There was no clear license plate, no way to identify the man behind the wheel. But one detail shook them. Once Samantha got in, the back door never opened again. A crime scene investigator would later say, "It was like the car swallowed her whole." By day 2, a major search was underway. Police released photos of Samantha sharing the last known description. Her family flew to Colombia. The hashtag #FindSammy began spreading on social media, but no one knew where to look. No phone signal, no bank activity, no sightings. And then, on the evening of the 3rd day, a rural resident near New Zion, South Carolina, reported something strange in the woods behind their property. A large garbage bag with a smell. Police arrived, and in the absolute silence of that moment, they opened the bag. Inside was the body of Samantha Josephson. She had been stabbed more than 100 times in the head, neck, arms, legs. Defensive wounds, fatal wounds, some so deep they reached bone. According to the coroner, it may have taken 10 to 20 minutes for her to die. Alone, in agony. She was left in the woods with no ID, no belongings, as if someone had tried to erase her entirely. But Samantha was not invisible, and her suffering would not go unheard. The very next day, Columbia police stopped a black Chevrolet Impala seen circling the area near where Samantha was last spotted. The driver had no license. There was blood inside the car, hair on the back seat. On the floor, gloves, cleaning wipes, a bottle of bleach, and a double-bladed knife. The man's name was Nathaniel Rowland. His name was Nathaniel David Rowland, 24 years old. A former student at South Carolina State University, but he dropped out back in 2017. No serious criminal record, no known mental health history, not on any watch lists. Just an ordinary man, or at least someone who could have been anyone. When police arrested Rowland, his demeanor was unsettlingly calm. He didn't run. He didn't ask, "Why am I being arrested?" Officers said he simply looked down at his hands, then quietly pulled out his wallet. Inside his car, police uncovered a trove of evidence: a double-bladed knife, rubber gloves, blood-stained tissues, and an open bottle of bleach. But the most disturbing discovery came from the trunk, a small bag filled with clumps of hair, cut in patches. DNA confirmed it was Samantha's. They also found Rowland's fingerprints on the knife, and Samantha's blood on the inside door handle, proof that she had tried to escape. City surveillance footage tracked the black Impala as it left 5 Points, winding through side streets before vanishing from view. Police believe that after the murder, Rowland drove through the night looking for a place to dump her body. Credit card records supported this. He'd bought bleach, wipes, and gloves from a gas station around 4 a.m. His ex-girlfriend told investigators, "He came to my house just before sunrise, asked if I had a towel and a razor. I asked what happened. He just shook his head." When asked why she didn't call police sooner, she said, "I was scared and I didn't know what really happened." And this is where a chilling question began to emerge. If Rowland wasn't her Uber driver, why did Samantha get into his car? What did he say? How did he act in those brief seconds to make her believe he was safe? Surveillance footage had no audio. The answer, whatever it was, vanished with the girl he took into the night. When Nathaniel Rowland's face appeared on the evening news, the community was stunned. People who'd seen him around 5 Points said he'd always hang near the bars late at night. Some remembered seeing the black Impala parked not far from where Samantha disappeared. One bartender said, "He didn't look like he was waiting for someone. He looked like he was hunting." Neighbors where Rowland lived started talking, and the fragments of memory began to form a pattern. One person recalled, "I heard the water running all night, then this strong smell, like bleach, but I didn't think anything of it." Another said they'd seen him throwing out trash, wearing gloves, in the middle of the night. Police searched his home, and just a few feet from the house, in a trash bin, they found Samantha's sneakers, her smashed cell phone, and a small, torn piece of her student ID. Each item spoke a truth louder than words. This wasn't a crime of impulse. It was calculated, planned, intentional. But why? Why would a young man with no record, no known mental illness, do something so monstrous? Investigators found no connection between Roland and Samantha. They didn't know each other. No shared friends. No history, no conflict. One theory began to take shape. Roland may have posed as an Uber driver, circling the bar district late at night, waiting for someone to make a mistake. Waiting for someone tired, distracted, and alone. And that's when the most terrifying question of all surfaced. What if Samantha wasn't the first? On Roland's phone, police found search history that included how to clean blood from a car, how to remove evidence, and chillingly, does Uber verify drivers at pickup? Roland offered no statement. He refused to cooperate. His attorney claimed the evidence was circumstantial, that no one saw the murder take place. But to Samantha's family, the evidence was more than enough. And Roland's silence? It was the loudest scream of all. There's something about Samantha Josephson's case that sets it apart. Not just the brutality, not just the killer, but the way the very system meant to protect people failed her. Uber, Lyft, and rideshare apps are supposed to be the safer option, the modern solution for young people out late at night. Just tap your phone. No drunk driving, no wandering down dark streets to hail a cab. But hidden inside that convenience was a fatal flaw. At the time Samantha went missing, there were no mandatory rules requiring Uber drivers to verify the identity of their riders, or vice versa. No matching code. No driver photo confirmation. Nothing. Except a car that looked like the one on your screen. And somehow, Nathaniel Roland understood that. He parked near 5 Points, a bar district packed with students, where it's loud, chaotic, and everyone just wants to get home. He wasn't an Uber driver, but he could pretend to be one. We'll never know if Samantha checked the license plate. We'll never know what he said to her. Maybe he just smiled and nodded. Maybe he said her name. Or maybe she was just tired and thought, that must be my ride. And in that one brief second, that one simple mistake, everything changed. When police searched Roland's home, they found something else. A phone, wiped clean. But data experts recovered traces of a fake app designed to mimic the Uber interface. A decoy. That raised a chilling question. Was this really random? Or had it been planned? A car that looked like Uber. A fake app. A familiar location. A time of night when he knew people would be calling rides. And if this was his first time, why did he already have bleach, gloves, and a double-bladed knife? There was something cold in Roland's calm. Something calculated. An emptiness. The kind that only someone who knows exactly what they're doing can carry. When the forensic report was read in court, the entire room went silent. Samantha had been stabbed 120 times. 120. Wounds across her neck, back, face, arms, even her palms. More than 30 of them were classified as defensive wounds. She fought. Inside the tight space of that car, Samantha used both hands to fight back. Under her fingernails, technicians found Nathaniel Roland's DNA. The deepest wound was beneath her chin. A strike that pierced from her neck through her tongue. A deliberate lethal cut. The examiner said, a person doesn't stab 120 times unless they're in full control and fully intent. Then came the detail that made her mother nearly collapse. Samantha didn't die right away. She may have lived and felt for 10 to 20 minutes after receiving the fatal wounds, alone, in pain, and no one heard her. Afterward, her body was dragged from the car and left in a patch of roadside grass, nearly 60 miles from Columbia. A remote, rural stretch of nowhere, left exposed, no covering, as if someone wanted to erase her. A nearby neighbor remembered. We have dogs? That morning, they were barking like crazy. But I never imagined someone was left behind our home. Samantha's phone was found 3 miles away, smashed, battery removed. Scattered in the mud were her handwritten notes, study plans, law school dreams, a list of goals for her future. At trial, the prosecutor held up a photo of Samantha's shoes, blood-stained, crushed, and asked, "Who does this?" To someone they don't even know? No one in the courtroom could answer. Roland never spoke, not during the trial. Not to Samantha's family. Not a single apology. Not even a glance of remorse. And that silence was the most terrifying part of all. The trial of Nathaniel Roland opened with an avalanche of undeniable evidence. DNA, surveillance footage, witness testimony, blood traces, the murder weapon. But what outraged the public most wasn't what could be proven. It was the question, how could something like this happen so easily? In the wake of Samantha's death, young people across the country began to share their own near misses. Stories of calling an Uber and being approached by quiet drivers in unmarked cars who never asked for a name, just smiled. Some said they'd trusted their gut and walked away. Others weren't sure if they'd narrowly escaped something worse. Columbia police admitted, "We had no protocol in place to detect or prevent rideshare impersonators." It wasn't until massive public pressure mounted that local officials began drafting new regulations. But for Samantha's family, it was too late. Standing before a bank of cameras, her mother, Marcy, said, "My daughter didn't die from one act of violence. She died from a series of failures that should have been fixed long ago." Then, a twist. FBI analysts revealed that Roland's phone had pinged at multiple bar locations across several nights, over weeks leading up to the murder. And 3 weeks before Samantha vanished, another student had reported being followed by a man in a black Impala. That report was never investigated. So now the questions deepened. What if police had followed up then? What if rideshare apps had better verification tools? What if just one person had called in their suspicion? Would Samantha still be alive? During the trial, the judge addressed the courtroom. "We are not just trying a man. We are confronting a gap, one our society chose to overlook." And in that moment, it became clear this was no longer just a murder case. It was an indictment of the fragile sense of safety we've come to trust. As the case seemed all but resolved, another chilling moment froze the courtroom. Roland's ex-girlfriend, the same woman who'd told police he came to her house that morning asking for a towel, was called back to the stand. But this time, she didn't just recall. She confessed. She admitted seeing blood on his shirt. She saw a deep scratch across his arm. And most hauntingly, she admitted she had helped him burn some items in the backyard, though she claimed she didn't know what they were. The courtroom fell silent. The prosecutor asked, "Do you understand you're testifying under oath?" She nodded, quietly. But due to witness protection laws and insufficient evidence that she knowingly aided in a murder, she wasn't charged. Still, a terrifying new question emerged. Did Nathaniel act alone? And if not, why did those around him remain silent? Was it fear? Or had they learned to live with shadows? Reporters began digging into Roland's past. Old college articles surfaced. Classmates described him as quiet, withdrawn, sometimes polite, other times cold as ice. One woman recalled being followed all the way back to her dorm. But there was no confrontation, so she never reported it. Looking back, she said, "I wish I had said something." Public trust collapsed. The once comforting belief that this couldn't happen to me was now broken. One black attorney stood and said, "We've spent years calling out systemic injustice, but today we must face another truth. No one is immune to the darkness." And then, the final inexplicable detail. During a second sweep of Roland's vehicle, a forensic examiner found a single strand of long, curly hair. It wasn't Samantha's. It didn't match her DNA, and it didn't match any known victim. No one came forward to claim it. No one could explain it. It just existed, lying quietly in the dark. A silent reminder that Samantha may not have been the first, and terrifyingly, may not be the last. At the trial, when the sentence was finally handed down, life in prison without parole, Samantha Josephson's family didn't scream. They didn't break down in tears. They simply held hands, silent, then stood and walked out of the courtroom. Her mother, Marcy, once said, "There's no sentence that can bring my daughter back, but if someone hears her story and lives a little more carefully because of it, then maybe, in some way, she's still saving lives." That year, the University of South Carolina left an empty chair at graduation. Her name, Samantha Josephson, printed in gold. A classmate said, "She didn't walk with us, but every step I take from now on, she's with me." Later, Congress passed Sammy's Law, named in her memory. It requires all rideshare drivers to verify a unique code, display reflective identification, and make sure their information is clearly visible. A small change, written in blood, but there are some things no law can fix. No sentence can erase. The silence when you call, and they don't pick up. The wall of photographs that now marks the edge of a life. A desk that still smells faintly of her perfume. A future cut off mid-sentence. and a quiet fear that still lingers each night. When someone walks out of a bar, unlocks their phone, and steps toward a car no one is sure about. Samantha's death wasn't just a crime. It was a warning that evil doesn't always wear a mask. It doesn't always look dangerous. Sometimes it just smiles and opens the car door for you. What do you think really happened that night? Did Nathaniel Rowland act alone? Or is there someone else? Still out there, still silent. And if it hadn't been Samantha, could it have been someone you know? A friend, a sister, a girl walking out of class, just trying to get home safe. Share this video, not because we need views, but because every person who knows this story might help prevent another one from ever happening. Comment "Me too" if you've ever stepped into a car and realized you didn't check like you should have. Comment "For Samantha" if you believe the law should change before someone is lost, not after. And finally, if you're watching this at night, double check your ride, your driver, even the smallest details. Because Samantha didn't get a second chance, but you still can.